Gavin, do we want to play some of this clip of Cenk's announcement from last night?
Yes. So we got the big announcement on TYT that I'll remind everyone. It wasn't actually much of a big announcement because if you subscribe to this channel, you already heard about this like a month ago. We spilled the beans. We spoiled the whole thing. Sorry to have to do that to you, Cenk, but we really stole his thunder like literally a month ago when we got our hands on the audio, the exclusively obtained leaked audio.
I don't know if it was thunder, more like a wet fart.
Yeah, exactly. Either way, even if we hadn't have spoiled the big news like a month ago, I still think this would have been mostly received just as a very underwhelming anticlimactic announcement after Cenk has built it up for a little bit. I think that this just doesn't meet the moment. It's not anything new. It's not anything exciting.
It literally isn't anything new,
right.
By the way.
It's not at all. And it's not anything that anyone really is even under the illusion that it has a chance of being successful by any serious metric. So, and I think what's extra hilarious is the fact that you can see all of this in Anna Kasparian and you can hear all of this in Anna Kasparian as she reacts and is like, okay.
Reminds me of when he told her he was running for president.
It's exactly the same energy. There's a few moments in here even that feel kind of passive aggressive. I'm not going to lie, from Anna. So let's take a look at this and hopefully we can get to some of those because like I said, she almost seems a little bit pissed about this. She's like, bro, why are you like wasting your time doing this and making me host the show on my own while you zoom in from New York City and, going News Nation and shit, which we're also going to take a look at a few minutes of because that's going to be relevant in a second. But let's take a look at this. And there's already been so much fallout just in the, 12, 20 hours or whatever since this was aired. Already been a lot of fallout, already been a huge meltdown behind the scenes at TYT and Rebellion PAC, which we're going to get into.
With a big announcement is Cenk Uygur. Cenk, how you doing?
Good, Anna, how you doing?
Pretty good.
All right, I'm in New York, as you can tell, in a fun hotel room here. Big announcement today. We are launching a populist takeover of the Democratic Party. We're doing it through Rebellion PAC, rebellionpac.com. So what does that mean? First of all, what are we concentrating on? Economic populism. So we are going to find candidates, and we already have, and I'll tell you who some of those candidates are, that believe in doing real populism, not the kind of fake populism that Donald Trump and Elon Musk did, and obviously not the establishment. So we're at the very center of the Democratic Party.
So let's pause it real quick before we let Cenk keep explaining himself. The big announcement is something that already exists. Rebellion PAC will now continue endorsing candidates as they already previously have. But now they're kind of sort of rebranding it, I guess. And maybe kind of, I don't know. It just doesn't really seem any different than the role Rebellion PAC has played previously, which is a very ineffective role. It might as well not exist. It's a total scam. It's just another way to funnel money into the pockets of Cenk Uygur and Brianna Wu and other ghouls like that. But either way, how is this anything new, Zach?
Oh yeah, it's not anything new. It is old, and it's less relevant than Justice Democrats, which Cenk also founded and then was booted from because of old blog posts and a bunch of other reasons, I would imagine, behind the scenes that never became public. But now you have him in a desperate attempt to regain relevance, to regain credibility on the left. And I think that's what he's doing right now. I think this is all part of his effort to weasel his way back into some sort of relevance, to give clout and prestige to TYT again, as they have none. He really hasn't been able to get anything going. And I think he just humiliates himself in one misstep after the other. And clearly this is just another one of those. We told you guys, what, as Gavin said, like a month and a half ago, when somebody sent us the audio from their members only thing. And, we blurred it all out and just let Cenk spill the beans in newsworthy fashion that he was going to be, reigniting. Basically, it's like he decided to pick up a toy that he was done playing with for a while, and then he got bored, and he was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and play with this again. Like I've really missed Halo 3. Let me go pick up the sticks and really, sit down. I haven't done that in a while. Right. You know what I mean? That's the kind of energy that it gives me. And he's clearly not feeling natural. Like, these are two people who have been on the air together for almost 20 years, and just listen how stiff this interaction is.
Oh, it gets even worse. And again, this whole grift kind of reminds me of what Andrew Yang pulled with the Forward Party. And we told you this at the time, guys. Like, there's all these hucksters out here that want to pretend like they're building a third party, but actually what they're doing is just creating a PAC that then endorses candidates, which is completely fucking meaningless. Most candidates have like a handful of PACs that endorse them, but no one IRL actually gives a fuck, right? It might infuse a little bit of money here or there, might make some ad or something, but it's not a real serious movement. It's not like actually a third party. Again, the Forward Party is guilty of the exact same thing. They want to act like, oh, you know, we're this third party, we're this new alternative to the Democrats and Republicans, but actually all they do is endorse candidates that are Democrats or Republicans, and then the occasional independent, right? But no one is running under the Forward Party ticket. No one is running with that platform. There is no actual Forward Party, just like how Rebellion PAC is just a fake thing. It's a self-enrichment scheme for Cenk and Brianna Wu. And then all they have to do is say, oh yeah, that we endorse this candidate. This candidate, you know, agreed to our 6 bullet points, so therefore we endorse them. But that's not going to matter to anyone. There's no actual voter out there that's going to hear, oh shit, this candidate got endorsed by Rebellion PAC, bro. It means I better support them. I mean, even Justice Democrats barely got to that level of relevance. But Rebellion PAC, are you fucking kidding me? Oh, and just, yeah, it's not even there anymore. Justice Democrats might as well not exist anymore.
Incredibly popular. They all poll over 2/3. They're the most popular positions the Democratic Party has. And so our revolutionary idea is, why don't we do them first? And let's get a giant coalition to do this. And we're planting our flag and saying we think the Democratic Party should go towards economic populism. And so we have an incumbent that is a sitting congressman who's with us and has already joined the rebellion. We have several candidates who have joined the rebellion. And as you'll see, they're about as populist as it gets. So some portions of the party, the establishment, are basically in the do nothing camp. And some good folks are in the do everything camp, Maximal's position. We're in the camp of do the right things and build up power and leverage, regain the country. And Anna, most importantly, in 2026, let's go win in blue, purple, and red districts. Let's take power back from the—
Dude, wait, hold on. That's a great idea, bro. What if we went into every district in the country, blue, red, purple, and what if we just won there, bro? Hold on, chat, bear with me for a second. What if instead of losing, we had this great idea where we won? I like that. I also am thinking that maybe we could get on board with opposing bad things and supporting good things. These are some revolutionary ideas. I've never heard this before. This is going to be such a game changer.
Yeah, no, it's completely ridiculous. And like the problem is a lot of Democrats do say the right thing on the campaign trail, right? Like they may get into office and completely sell out and not do shit and whatever. But like, it's not like most Democrats that run in red districts. It's not like they're just out on the campaign trail talking ad nauseum about trans people and shit. Like most of them do pretty much talk about kitchen table issues, and they talk about the issues that affect people's lives, right? It is the Republican Party that's running ads about trans people in sports and shit like that.
Donald Trump, and then build the credibility and the leverage to be able to help in picking a 2028 candidate for the Democratic primaries, take back the Democratic Party, and take back the country. And so this is a practical plan. It's a real plan. It involves real candidates. And again, with the most popular positions within the Democratic Party. Let's go win. Let's take power back for the people.
So how is this different from—
What hotel chain do you think Cenk is staying at?
He said it's a pretty fun hotel room, so I have no idea, but
I was just looking at the art on the wall.
And again, listen to how unenthusiastic Anna Kasparian sounds. Again, this is supposed to be some big announcement. She can't even pretend to be excited about it, or she can't even seem to figure out how it's anything new, just like us. To her credit, she's like, wait, what? So how's this anything different?
What was done through Justice Democrats, for instance, right? So Justice Democrats started or launched with you, by the way, being one of the people who pushed for it. And the idea was to get progressives to challenge Democratic incumbents. And that's how we have people like AOC in the House of Representatives. How is this different?
Yeah, so great question. So I was one of the co-founders of Just Democrats, and as our audience knows, we launched Just Democrats right here on Young Turks. And Ro Khanna, again, was the first person to sign up. He's you lead by leading, and that brother has a lot of courage, and he's had the right idea all along: economic patriotism. And I am proud to announce that
his economic patriotism includes profiting off of ICE by investing massively in Palantir stocks. That's a Ro Khanna.
Ro Khanna is now part of the rebellion. So super happy to have him on board. He believes in new economic patriotism. That's his term for it, and I love it. And he's in California 17 and is always
and
leading the
again,
way.
like
He's a
obviously Ro Khanna is probably one of the better Congress people, despite his insider trading. But I don't know. It's just funny, like. Bro, and they did the same thing with Justice Democrats. You're like, Ro Khanna is the first Justice Democrat. He signed on. Like, I don't know what. These two must be genuinely friends, because it feels like Ro Khanna just perpetually like owes Cenk a favor. Whenever Cenk launches something, he's like, hey, I know who I can give a call. My good friend Ro Khanna, aka Roy Kahana.
I was wondering how long it would take to get that one out.
Because he was also one of the people that came on that Dr. Phil thing, you know? Dr. Phil and Cenk did that like collab town hall or some shit. And one of the few people that Cenk got to show up on his side, or like one of the left-wing guests, was Ro Khanna. So it's like I feel like Ro Khanna just perpetually owes Cenk a favor. And Cenk's always like, hey bro, you owe me big time. Let's set this up. Because I'm sorry, but like, why are you doing this, Ro Khanna? Like, you have more serious things to do than, you know, be part of the rebellion with Rebellion PAC. Like, what the fuck? This is so stupid.
Yeah, I think Ro is constantly engaged in an effort to make himself seem more progressive than he actually is. And I think it's because he knows that he has to appease the deep-pocketed Silicon Valley overlords if he wants to keep his congressional seat. But he also doesn't want to have to deal with a bunch of fucking bullshit from the people who are going to oppose him ad nauseum. And I do think he has some good instincts, right? I think that he has some Keynesian economic backbone, but he also still wants to be filthy rich and get richer. And so for that reason, I don't really trust the guy.
Chair, of course, of Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign. So thrilled to have him with us. There's another face that you'll remember in a second. But Anna, to your question about how this is different this time around, two things. Number one, back then the timing was right to win some stunning victories, as we did in the AOC race, and then arguably in Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Ayanna Pressley. But unfortunately, the Democratic Party and the Democratic voters weren't quite ready for a takeover. They still had faith in the Democratic establishment. Now, obviously, we tried to warn them. Bernie tried to warn them for year after year after year, saying that this establishment is never going to win. That you guys are missing it. It's not just that they don't have the right policies and they've been too corrupted by money in politics. We're in a populist era. And if you keep running the most corporate, most establishment candidates, you can't win. But at the time, the voters were not quite ready to hear that message. After the debacle of 2024, with what happened with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the Democratic voters are in a very different place. And number two, we're sticking with our most popular issues. And what we're giving a solemn promise that we are going to pass those bills. And so if we don't pass those bills, there should be accountability. So I don't want this to be the same old, Democratic situation where they.
Oh, I get it. So this time we're going to try it, but we're going to hold their feet to the fire. We're not going to take no for an answer. We're going to go in there and call. I mean, Cenk is such a broken record. I think that there are probably 5 special announcements that you could pull and he would just read the exact same transcript. Like, you would be able to just swap it out and put the new one, and he would sound like maybe 5 years younger, a little more enthusiastic, but he would be saying the same line. And it doesn't have the same appeal as Bernie Sanders' broken record shit, when you know that this is all just a big con so that he can go get beers with conservatives and pursue his lifelong dream of watching himself be featured at an airport lounge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a nothing burger.
Yeah, there's a couple more timestamps I'm finding real quick so we can keep playing this while I do that. But like, one of my big takeaways from this, and we're about to see, one second, let me find the exact timestamp so we don't miss anything. But one of my big takeaways from this, and you can see it on Anna's face, it's almost like, bro, like, why are you wasting your time with this? You have something that actually does require your time and energy right now, and it's your fucking flagship brand. It's the Young Turks, bro. It's kind of like Elon Musk running around playing, government official while his companies go up in smoke behind him. It's like, bro, don't you care about this thing anymore? And Anna's like, hey, like, TYT is kind of in a weird place right now. The audience just left in a mass exodus. Everyone's pissed at them. They didn't really succeed in this pivot they tried to pull off. And instead of working on rebuilding that brand or rebuilding trust with the audience or building a new audience, Cenk is like out here doing this stupid shit that no one cares about. That's not going to generate any legitimate fanfare for the Young Turks. It's not going to bring any new audience. It's not going to bring any new excitement, new viewers, whatever. It's just a waste of time and a weird attempt to grift. And yeah, I think it's just bizarre that Cenk's more focused on this than rebuilding everything that he's burned down with the TYT brand itself.
I think he thinks this is his rocket ship back to credibility. I think if he, I genuinely do, guys. I think we've talked, with people who know him, like Francesca recently, about how delusional this guy is. You know what I mean? And I think he genuinely thinks that he's just going to go in there and he's going to get a couple of, people elected, and it's going to be Bernie Sanders again in 2016 again, and everything's going to be water under the bridge, and the Young Turks is going to continue to grow. I think he might be that delusional because what he does believe in is his own brand. Cenk looks out for number one and potentially Anna Kasparian, and that's it. Okay. And I think that what he's trying to do here is desperately, rekindle his image, because he realized running to the right didn't work. And he didn't have the time to actually start anything new. He didn't have time to actually organically build anything, or he didn't choose to take the time, I should say. So what's he doing? He's rebranding and relaunching Rebellion PAC, something he already had control over. And to extend your Elon Musk analogy a little bit, Gavin, do you know what toy Elon Musk has recently picked back up again? Something I never thought I'd hear of ever again.
What?
The Boring Company, which was that idea that he had to build tunnels. Now it's got a $7.7 billion valuation, and he's starting to play with the game. Why? Because he destroyed Tesla. Look at Tesla's Q1 financial report, guys. It's an absolute disaster. I think it's down like 41% or more in profit. It was absolutely lunacy. So a lot of times these guys, they'll break one toy and they'll be like, let me go show the world I'm a genius in this other way, and then they'll forgive me for everything, and then all will be forgiven because they have this narcissistic lizard brain. I think that might be what's happening to Cenk.
Yep. And again, Rebellion PAC is not anything remotely new. I remember the first Rebellion PAC ads I remember seeing were as a part of the Beto O'Rourke campaign. They were running Beto O'Rourke ads against Ted Cruz. That's how long Rebellion PAC has existed, from my memory. And yeah, now Cenk is literally just resurrecting and digging it up from its grave. Something that's been completely irrelevant, in part thanks to Brianna Wu's association with it. And we're going to talk more about that in a second, because of course that's the elephant in the room. He's launching all of this through Rebellion PAC. Guess who's the executive director of Rebellion PAC? Brianna Wu. Again, stay tuned because we have an update regarding that employment status. But there are a few more timestamps here that I found pretty interesting. Cenk blabbers on and on. You've heard him say all this shit a million times. But what I do think is really interesting is some of these comments from Anna, some of these little interludes from Anna, where it's kind of awkward. It's kind of weird.
And not the donors. That is, as usual, the very, very core of it.
So just let me say quickly, because it might seem weird that I'm like asking you questions about what you're doing here when you and I work so closely on a day-to-day basis. Rebellion PAC and what you're doing outside of TYT is very much outside of TYT. So I'm not involved in any of this. And so one of the other questions that I have is whether, similar strategies are now being rolled out by folks like the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee, David Hogg. He's going to use about $20 million in order to primary ineffective Democrats in safe blue districts. Is this something that you see yourself working with David Hogg on, or do you see your project as entirely separate and will not have?
Cenk's answer to this is a total non-answer. He just like bloviates and says nothing for 3 minutes because he clearly isn't actually prepared to answer the substance of the question. But it's actually a decent question from Anna. She's like, hey, you claim to have this revolutionary approach. Well, to his credit, the freaking vice chair of the Democratic Party himself is basically saying the same shit. So what's so revolutionary about this? And also, by the way, I'm in no way involved in your dumbass Rebellion PAC charade. I don't give a fuck about it. I could not be less involved with it because I don't care at all. So that's also funny.
Oh yeah, not only that, but Anna's actually kind of benefited from his out of TYT, kind of interest, right? When Cenk steps away from TYT and runs for president or runs for Congress, that he can no longer have the editorial control legally over TYT if they want to maintain their affiliation as a news network, right? There are laws in place, actual legitimate laws you have to follow. And so as a result of that, Cenk stepped away as an editor, and now Anna Kasparian has far more editorial oversight over the Young Turks. And I imagine she's held on to that. That's why we've seen the show pivot the way we have over the years, right? But you're right. She wants everybody to know that she has absolutely nothing to do with this. She's not really that impressed with it, frankly, by her tone of voice. And the one thing I think that does stand out here is the fact that she asks Cenk if he's going to be collaborating with David Hogg. So we don't have to hear his entire bloviating answer, but it should just be a resounding yes. Of course, I'd love to work with David Hogg. I'd love to work with anybody who's interested in getting progressive candidates into office. Or it might just be about Cenk.
Any collaboration with Hogg?
So I love what David Hogg is doing. I'm totally in favor of it. I believe in primaries. I believe in that the Democratic Party will be stronger if we have stronger, more contested primaries. We need the strongest possible candidates. For too long, the Democratic Party has anointed, and their track record on the candidates they've anointed is terrible, uniquely miserable. So no, we're not interested in anointing or giving incumbents a pass. So I love what David Hogg is doing.
That's not a yes that we're going to be collaborating.
David Hogg probably doesn't want anything to do with Cenk. That's the elephant in the room. It's like, even if Cenk wanted to collaborate with David Hogg, I don't think that, David Hogg would necessarily want to collaborate with him.
Cenk's brand is mud.
Yeah. And again, it's like, okay, so Ro Khanna is already in Congress. How is it revolutionary for someone who's already an established member of Congress and one of the most prolific insider traders in the body? How is that revolutionary? How is that even a rebellion? Oh, what, a guy who's already in power, who, yeah, is not the worst out there, but still is deeply corrupt. It's like, wow, what a rebellion. We have a deeply corrupt insider trader who's been in Congress for fucking like a decade now on our rebellion.
For Silicon Valley.
Yeah, for Silicon Valley. Either way, here's one more pretty interesting timestamp towards the very end. Let me know if I'm over analyzing this. But, I found this to be downright passive aggressive, a comment that Anna makes here towards the end. Again, kind of implying like, what the hell are, like, you should be here, helping me rebuild this instead of, going around jerking yourself off in New York with the fucking News Nation crew, Chris Cuomo and Geraldo Rivera, as you're about to see in a second. But either way, let's take a look here.
That change their lives for the better. That's the Democratic Party we want to rebuild.
All right, everyone, check that out at rebellionpack.com. Thank you, Cenk. You've been very generous with your time. I hope you'll be back soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Of course, I will. And by the way, taking this message to News Nation at 8:25 Eastern. You guys can all check that out. And then tomorrow morning, we're going to tape it, but you'll see it a little bit later. But on the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne the God. And so check it out everywhere you can. And then you're going to begin to see all of our candidates: Ro Khanna, Ojeda, the person that we're introducing on May 1st, and many more, all over the airwaves. We're going to bring the popular Democratic.
That's the other thing is that we missed it, but he announces that Richard Ojeda is going to be running again. And I want to tread lightly here because Richard Ojeda does genuinely seem like a nice dude to me. I've never met him personally, but he does seem like a nice guy. Seems like someone I'd get a beer with, to channel Cenk Uygur himself. But I hate to say it, bro. Running someone who's already lost like 3 fucking times. And you really want people to be optimistic about this? You want people to be excited about, oh, we're trotting out this proven loser, someone who's only ever lost in every race they've ever run in multiple times. I've already hyped him up over and over and tried to make it seem like he was going to win this time over and over. And every time it's failed. And now we're just doing that again. Oh, it's Richard Ojeda again. Are you fucking kidding me? What is this, 2017, bro? Is there no one else? Don't you have anyone else in your fucking Rolodex of numbers to call other than Richard Ojeda? Jesus Christ, bro.
Yeah, the reality is the answer is no, right? He hasn't made any progressive connections over the last 7 years because all he's done is whitewash and, coddle up to right wingers while he cuts every single other left voice out of his life and off the network, right? Including people that he once employed or at least paid money to, right? In both cases. So, Richard Ojeda, he even had that like fucking just totally failed run for president that he announced for like a couple of weeks.
Oh, I forgot about
It's just embarrassing, guys.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, dude, remember? Yeah, I didn't forget. He ran for president in 2020, okay?
Cenk took some inspiration for that.
No, and I'm just like, guys, can we please be serious for a second? I just want to be serious because I want to win. I want to stop losing to fascists, okay? And we got to do it with people who are going to win. So again, Richard, you seem like a great guy. I would never get elected to office either, but we got to stop running. You got to know that when you look at Silly and Billy, it's like, you guys say the right things. Yeah, but we'll never get elected to any congressional seat ever. So don't fucking run if you look like us and kind of act like us. You know what I mean? And I get it. He has a lot more going for him. He was in the military. Wasn't he in Knock Down the House at one point, right?
I don't think so.
Oh no, he was in Where to Invade Next with Michael Moore briefly.
Oh, was he?
Yes.
Nice.
He was briefly appeared in some documentary of note where he walked around West Virginia with Michael Moore and talked about the need for healthcare. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Fact check me. He's in a documentary that I've seen before. So he has some sort of national profile. You know what I mean? But not anymore. He had it for like 30 seconds. You know what I mean? And then he lost the race and then it was over. It would be like digging up Paula Jean Swearingen again. You know what I mean? Like, no offense, Paul. I think you follow us on Twitter. Maybe not anymore. but
But no, for real, it's just and actually, Paula Jean Swearengin beat Richard Ojeda in the Democratic primary of West Virginia.
True.
So it's actually lower than that because Paula Jean Swearengin actually beat him in an election that for the Democratic nomination. So yeah, it's actually pretty pathetic. Again, I like Richard Ojeda. He seems like a cool guy, but I just feel like his talents would be better used elsewhere.
Oh, it's Fahrenheit 11/9, the Michael
Okay,
Moore
Fahrenheit
documentary.
11/9. Yeah.
I was like, I've seen him in something like that.
Either way, Zach, we have a little bit of this News Nation clip to look at,
gotcha.
but no, it's okay. I was going to say we have to break this down first because for this to be truly, I want to, preface this with everything that's gone down since this announcement because, it seems pretty innocuous, whatever. He's bringing back Rebellion PAC, but the real elephant in the room is Brianna Wu and her association with Rebellion PAC. And Zach, do you want to explain a little bit everything that's kind of gone down since this announcement and people, freaking out?
Yeah, so Gavin and I had the day off yesterday to kind of recharge our batteries because it was our first day at home since we'd gotten back from like 8 days on the freaking road, on the train rails rather, right? And so we were exhausted and I'm like trying to get caught up on the news and I see this announcement and I'm like, oh my God, check out more about Rebellion PAC. LOL, it's Rebellion PAC. So it's like everything we were suspicious of being true. He didn't even rename it, which I was kind of thinking he would at least like bother to rename it or put, a new sticker on it or something like that. Anyway,
also notice that he put rebellionpac.com, but never in this tweet did he actually tag the Rebellion PAC Twitter account. So that's interesting too.
That is interesting. He also makes no mention of their executive director, Brianna Wu, who I go ahead and make mention of because you guys might have missed it. She's in fucking Israel. She was in Israel at the time of this announcement, and he didn't think to mention it. He didn't think to say, you know what, maybe we should part ways before I make this announcement. No, he had to be bullied into submission on Twitter by people like us, frankly. And I'm going to go out here and I'm going to take some credit for Silly and Billy and getting Brianna Wu fired because I tweeted this out. The executive director of Rebellion PAC, Brianna Wu, is one of the most vile Zionists on this entire platform. If you contribute to this, you are funding her salary. And I have the receipts. Yes, I do. She made $38,000 from the Rebellion PAC the last time those numbers were made public, which does not include 2025.
Yep.
Okay. We don't know what she's been paid since then. Oh,
sorry. Never mind.
Oh, no, I was just going to add, we brutally ratioed the fuck out of Cenk here. I think this lousy tweet got 88 favorites.
How many did the one above that get, just for curiosity?
Not much more. Let me see.
We ratioed both, even the main tweet.
Even the main tweet. And not only that, everyone, if you guys go to the APAC tracker account, I'm not going to take credit for it, but they take this exact same screenshot that I pulled, okay, and they put it over this tweet, and they say the same thing that I said. And then we get the next upcoming news, but I don't know if you have anything to add before we spoil that.
Yeah, well, let's just add one. I just, in case anyone's not familiar, because I know people don't, fucking scroll Twitter like, brain dead chimpanzees like we do all day. A lot of people probably don't understand truly the depths of Brianna Wu's genocidal depravity. Let's take a look at this tweet real quick. This is just one of literally thousands of examples. Here's her saying, I look forward to having a foreign policy with some balls. And this is Marco Rubio saying that Palestinians are vicious animals and that there will not be a ceasefire, and that he blames Hamas for the death of all of the civilians. So this is her unironically, straight up endorsing the genocidal foreign policy, not just of Joe Biden, but of the Republican Party, of fucking Marco Rubio, and the worst of the IDF and of Bibi Netanyahu's barbaric attack and slaughter of innocent men, women, and children in Gaza. It's completely and undeniably murderous what she supports, and she doesn't even cloak it in any sort of gaslighting. She's just a straight up. She's just straight up. She's like, I fucking hate Palestinians. Israelis are superior, and they should have all the land. And Cenk doesn't care. He doesn't give a fuck, despite the fact that Palestine is the one issue that he's actually still somewhat decent on. To his credit, when he goes on like Piers Morgan or when he debates some idiot right-winger, it's the one issue that he actually gets worked up about, seemingly with everyone but Brianna Wu, which is so fucking crazy. I do not understand it.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. And she even just the other day was like responding to like Zoran Mandani and like saying that like Mahmoud Khalil should be deported and crazy shit like that. You know what I mean? And then she made a bunch of tweets about how like I'm in Israel, I'm not leading protests against Israel. It's like no shit, you dumb bitch.
Yep.
You
And she's
fucking
also
genocide
literally
monster.
She's on the payroll of APAC and other pro-Zionist Israeli advocacy.
She apparently denies that, but I don't believe it.
Well, I've seen her literally on the speaking roster at events put on by groups like that, like Stop Anti-Semitism and the APAC and shit like that. And she's admitted in the past to have worked for APAC.
Oh, she says no one has ever paid me. So
Well,
I'll just
yeah,
put this
of
up here.
course.
I'm just saying, right? She does deny it.
Well, no, that's not denying it. Lots of people that work for APAC would say I've never been paid to have an opinion about Israel. They hired me because of the opinion I have about Israel.
I guess that's probably fair.
That's 100%. I mean, I'm sure lots of people would say that who work for APAC.
Yeah, I guess
She's admitted to working for APAC in the past. I mean, that's not a conspiracy.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. I totally believe that she's taking money from APAC. I was just going to add the caveat that she lies about it, but I guess maybe that's not what she was doing right there.
Yeah, she was just weaseling out of it because she can't admit that that's what she's just a propagandist. She has to pretend that, oh, APAC doesn't pay people to have opinions. They just find people with the opinions that they want and then pay them to spew those opinions with a larger megaphone, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that does check out. Anyway, she adds this morning. So about 12 hours after, this is like 15 hours after the news broke. After everybody and their mother had spent all night fucking throwing mud at Cenk Uygur and telling him that his idea was stupid and that he was a fraud, and doing our job on Twitter to get this lady fired. Basically, we all Karened out last night. I led the charge. I said, let's do this thing. Let's get this woman off the payroll and humiliate Cenk some more. She says, quick announcement. With my ongoing vocal issues and multiple surgeries this summer, I'm taking a step back as the executive director of Rebellion PAC and going on health leave. You guys can see she no longer has executive director in her bio on Twitter. And I remind everyone that bullying does work.
To channel Cenk one more time. Down goes Brianna Wu. Down goes Brianna Wu. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. And I do think that, yes, your tweets, the tweet from the Vanguard account pinned by Zach, had played a very large part in that. You put the one up on screen that basically said, like, if you support this, you're funding this lady, right? You're paying her salary. Yeah, that's damning. And I think that it got so many likes. People spread it so much. It literally got more likes than the announcement tweet from Cenk by a lot. That he was like, you know what? This has to happen. We need to part ways. Who knows if it was Cenk that directly fired Brianna or if they kind of mutually decided that this was going to be necessary. But do we have the tweet from Cenk, Zach? I can find it too. But there's one where he kind of, before this announcement was made from Brianna, where he's kind of defending working with her. And he's like, I'm not going to cancel Zionists.
So we also got a brutal ratio on him for this one. This only got 17 favorites because it was disgusting. He says, if you think I'm going to be too soft on Israel, you haven't been paying attention. But I'm not canceling anyone over their opinions, especially on this issue where our side has been canceled forever. We agree on the populist plank. No, you don't. And we're allowed to disagree on everything else.
Everything else, even genocide. Oh, they can be a Nazi as long as they support paid family leave. Imagine telling some kid in Palestinian whose dad just got blown in half that, oh yeah, but the people in America who are funding your culture's genocide and destruction, they're going to get paid family leave. Oh yeah, I'm sure that they really give a fuck about that.
Yeah. And so, which I come in and say, I'll look past cheerleading a genocide, but I draw the line at empathy for the unhoused and inclusion in sports. And again, we cop the brutal ratio there. And also, guys, I just want to remind everyone that, while we did put this out, way ahead of time, I think the APAC tracker tweet that, went viral was the real push that Cenk got. So I'm happy that I put the idea out there into the ether. This one got 123,000 views and almost double the favorites that ours did. It was just a brutal ratio. It's the only news going around about Cenk's announcement was the fact that it was headed by a brutal Zionist who was in Israel, going to West Bank and doing propaganda about how I can't go to the Hamas part of the West Bank because I'm a trans woman and they won't have that there. But I'm perfectly safe in Tel Aviv.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's crazy. And also the thing about Brianna Wu that's weird, that I've always thought was odd. It's almost like Cenk owes her a favor by letting her be the director of Rebellion PAC for as long as he has. Because if you guys pay any attention to Brianna Wu's Twitter account over the last 2 years, I don't think she's tweeted about Rebellion PAC once. It's like she just doesn't even work there at all. She just gets paid to. It's like she just literally like quiet quit or something like 2 years ago, but somehow was still getting paid. I don't think I saw a single tweet about her, a tweet from her about Rebellion PAC, about any of the candidates, about any of the, content that Rebellion PAC was theoretically producing. All she tweets about is Israel, and all she tweets about is Zionism. She's a broken clock who's literally just paid to spew fucking transphobia and pro-Israeli propaganda. That's all it is. And of course, she's extra useful for Israel because of the fact that she's a trans woman, as you just mentioned. She can be
Cenk, by the way,
and Cenk, right? But of course, for Israel, she can, say that, oh, Hamas would kill me. I can be a trans woman in Israel. Therefore, I guess we have to genocide the Palestinians, because my transness or something, right? Like, okay.
Well, JK Rowling is cool, and I'm not one of those trans people.
Exactly. She'll literally tweet shit like that at JK Rowling. So it's genuinely wild, and I don't understand why Cenk has let her be the executive director of this PAC for so long when, again, she doesn't even seem to care about it. She never tweets about it. She never talks about it. You wouldn't even know that she had any connection to it if it wasn't for that shit in her bio saying, executive director of Rebellion PAC for so long. She was a total stain on the organization. She would constantly talk shit on progressives and progressivism while supposedly being the head of Rebellion PAC, which is a theoretically progressive PAC. It makes no fucking sense. I truly don't understand why Cenk keeps associating with this person who, by the way, has no actual fan base of their own at this point. Brianna Wu has no fan base, no audience, no readership or viewership or anything. She is literally just a paid propagandist on behalf of the genocidal Israeli regime. That's her job. The only people that follow her are people that just want to consume propaganda for Israel to make themselves feel better about the genocide that they support. That's it. So it's genuinely crazy to me. And while Brianna is pretending that, oh, I'm stepping down because of my voice and because of surgery, it's health issues. I don't believe that, Zach, because
no.
As of last night on News Nation, where again Cenk ditched Anna to show up and talk with Chris Cuomo. Honestly, Cenk's probably angling for a fucking job.
What's the
News
mustache
Nation.
fucker's name?
Geraldo Rivera.
Geraldo Rivera, that man, Wash Fox News contributor.
Yep. Did he get fired for being like not pro-Trump enough or something? I thought so.
Yeah, dude, he drew the line over some of the immigration rhetoric, I believe, but he's still a crazy person.
Oh yeah, he sucks. But either way, listen to this real quick.
You guys and I might disagree on some of that, but this has absolutely nothing to do with me. I'm part of the people who founded this organization, and I'm on the board of it. Cara Eastman, another great progressive Democrat, is the executive director right now. Brianna Wu's on the board with me. So this is a giant organization, and
I did not see that.
Yeah. So as of last night, this aired literally last night, right after Cenk's appearance on TYT. According to him, Brianna Wu's on board. Brianna Wu is on board in his own freaking words. Also, it does suck that Cara Eastman is involved in this, because I actually remember thinking she was pretty cool. I supported her when she ran in Nebraska. She came pretty close to winning in that purple district. It's weird to see her team up with the likes of Cenk and Brianna Wu, but it is what it is. Everyone needs a job. Either way, as of less than 24 hours ago, Brianna Wu was on board with the mission. She was right there. Still on board, but now apparently health issues have materialized since then. I'm sure it had nothing to do with the immediate and severe, brutal backlash that this elicited, Zach.
Yeah, boy. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it was the APAC tracker account, but I'm going to take credit anyway. And be like, you know what? I know that Cenk looks at our tweets. I know for a fact that Cenk watches our shit. And he was like, oh my God, they're about to kill me for this. They're about to rake me over the coals. And so for all of you guys who were like, why don't you let your foot off the gas? Why don't you stop coming after Cenk Uygur? Because he still has a national profile and he still keeps doing shit that's detrimental to the left. He still keeps putting Zionist warmongers in charge of things that are supposed to be progressives. He still puts TERFs in charge of things that are supposed to be progressive. And he does the same bad idea over and over and over again because he doesn't want to do any actual work. He just wants to take credit for being an ideas man. And if you want to be an ideas man, do what Gavin and I do. Sit down in your fucking chair and yap. Because then at least people can be like, hey, all you do is fucking yap. And you'll be like, yes, I'm a yapper. That's my fucking job. It's called podcasting. Okay? Yep. Literally, my job is to yap. So when you call me a yapper, I'm like, yes, that is me, sir. But I'm proud to yap because I like doing it for a living. Okay? But I don't go out there and tell you I'm a fucking revolutionary. I don't go out there and tell you I'm going to solve political problems overnight. I give suggestions and I feed them into the world. And sometimes in a way that makes me
I
believe there
would,
might be a higher
argue that
power or a god of some kind, Brianna Wu gets fired after that. I went on quite a Twitter tear about that yesterday, and I'm happy that it was, it's made its way up the totem pole, because we did use our powers for good for that.
Yeah, 100%. Also, it's weird to see on TYT. Like I was watching the main show last night. I'll see if I can try to find it real quick. But they've updated the graphics, right? Like when they go on break, and now they're actually bragging about endorsements from people like Dr. Phil. So I'll try to find this real quick, but yeah, it'll be like, in the little montage of like all the little cool shit about TYT. It'll show like quotes from people, including Dr. Phil. They're now proudly bragging about having the endorsement of a monster like that. And it seems like they're also increasingly just completely moving away from the progressive brand, leaning more and more into populism. So it's pretty crazy, but I think it's fair to say that the new direction for the Young Turks is not panning out in the way that they hoped. And Cenk really should be back in the studio doing what he does best, which is yapping. As you said, Zach, that is what Cenk is good at. That's basically the only thing that Cenk is good at. He's not good at running for Congress. He's not good at, running for president. He's not good at being an activist in basically any sense. All he's really good at is yapping. And he should get back to doing that and rebuilding his brand, rebuilding the channel and the audience, because that's all he really has. No one's going to care about this other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's hilarious that they've decided to go for the populism thing now. They're basically like, wait, what if we turned our show into Breaking Points? Way after the fact. You know what I mean? Let's get rid of this progressivism. And why don't you just kind of take on like a right-wing pivot, and I'll kind of take on a right-wing pivot, but we'll both have kind of different right-wing pivots. We'll call it populism. You know what I mean? And then the right-wingers and then everybody in the general news world, then they'll flock to us. And it's like, no, dude, that doesn't work, right? What made that work was the synergy between Crystal and Sagar, right? Like it or not, the Hill is tanking. They cannot get it together without Crystal and Sagar to any degree that they had. Now, admittedly, when it was Kim Iverson and Robbie Swab, they were crushing it with the batshit crazy people on the internet. Anybody who wanted to hear like vaccine conspiracies be spread or talk about how like, we need to like cut taxes for the rich, I'm sure they had their bases covered. Okay. But for the most part, now the Hill is eating shit. And Cenk and Anna are not going to have the sauce that makes what Crystal and Sagar had work, right? And on top of it, the whole populism thing as a form of branding really isn't hot right now. So if it's not something that you've had a long-term commitment to, like Crystal and Sagar, I'm not sure that it would translate well for you. But again, this is just an example of Cenk being a bad businessman and a phony progressive, okay? He again, I've said this a bunch of times, and this is the last thing I'll say because I know I'm rambling, but Cenk used progressive politics as a vehicle to grow his platform and grow the Young Turks network. It was never something that he was personally committed to. I think it was all a front. I think what he was committed to was putting on the show and getting his audience to believe that so that he could grow his network. And now it's no longer paying the bills. So he's trying to go in a different direction. And he's, cuddling up with all of these like middling people who are desperate. And he's desperate, and it's not going to work out.
Yeah, take a look at this. Obviously, he's still bragging about Ro Khanna, as if anyone gives a fuck, right? Again, Ro Khanna is not the worst congressman out there, but you think your average person tuning into like a news show on YouTube gives a fuck about like Ro Khanna's endorsement? Like literally no one cares. But even more embarrassing is trotting out the endorsement of noted populist Dr. Phil. Like, again, you want to lean into populism and then parade around Dr. Phil? It's not very populist, I hate to tell you. But let's take a look at this.
You put out good tweets, but you're not wielding actual power. Now we're starting to.
Yes. Congratulations on all your success. You guys are everywhere.
It's about a country and a principle, and that's what you and I both work to achieve. And I'm so glad.
Well, and then there's Dean Phillips. But yeah, it's like, bro, that's like if Sean Hannity endorsed the Young Turks. Like, you guys should really check out the Young Turks, and they played that as if it was something to be proud of. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That makes me want to watch your show less. That you had Dr. Phil on and we're, rubbing elbows and buddy with the guy. That's disgusting. He's a total fucking craven propagandist piece of shit that's sold out to the Trump administration. And his entire career has been filled with, morally problematic, questionable activity. Fuck that guy. And also, he's not even a populist. At least with like the Steve Bannon thing, Cenk can be like, well, Steve Bannon's a populist. He wants to, tax the rich or something. Like Dr. Phil doesn't ever talk about taxing the rich. He's in no way a populist.
Yeah, if you find yourself where you're in a better situation if you were giving it up to Steve Bannon, woo, you're not coming back, brother. You're down too bad. You better take a year and a half off and reboot.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be there.